red. I am blue. You are bright and shiny in my mind. You got me loving, hating, crazy indecision in my mind.
Welcome to the Fall Podcast, where the focus is on deer hunting, tips, tricks, tactics, and stories from across the Midwest. And now, here is your host, Aaron Blicey.
Happy opening week here in the fall. It's finally here. The leaves are changing. It's getting colder. The mornings are getting frosty, and I couldn't be more excited. You know, I've spent the last week in Iowa, and Cody, Chris, Jason, Adam, and Keegan were in Ohio, and Casey was with me as well. So we've had a pretty eventful, opening week, to say the least. Chris went in, first 35 minutes of the season and killed a good buck. And in Iowa, Casey and I had some good hunts. I ended up taking a doe and I killed a coyote, so it was pretty cool. So today, that's basically what you're gonna get. You're gonna get the update of week one, and there's some cool stories in here. It's funny. I'm going to tell you this. You're going to laugh through just about all of this podcast is the stories that we got on here. You're actually going to hear Cody Keefer. You're going to hear Chris Keefer and Adam Rock and myself. So we break down Chris's hunt and what him and Adam did to be successful. And then, Cody slips in for his first night in the tree, and him and Keegan had a pretty big mishap. So I'll let him tell the story here, and we'll get into that. But as far as my trip in Iowa, it was really eventful. Saw some good bucks, just nothing we really wanted to go home with. Killed a doe, so that was cool. Got some meat in the freezer, and actually did a little predator control. So battling the rain and all that stuff, we had a pretty eventful week. So, with that being said, I'm gonna get right to this podcast. But first, I'm gonna tell you guys also that to go over to KeeferBros.com. I mean, if you guys are looking at any sort of gear, you need any last minute things, or anything that we may use, there's a discount code on our website to give you guys a little kickback. So anything as far as any product that we use, there's got to be a discount code out there on the website, so go and check that out. And I also want to take one quick moment and shout out to everybody who's went onto iTunes and left a comment on the podcast. I cannot thank you guys enough. That's huge. I loved hearing the feedback, and if everybody else could go do it, that could be greatly appreciated. And like I said before, you don't even have to give your name, and you can do it in an anonymous comment. I don't even need to know your name, but I just want to hear what you guys have to say, and leave a rating too. A 5-star rating would be huge. So thank you again to all those people that have done that, and let's keep this train rolling. The fall's here. Sorry this episode's a little late. I've been doing the Monday thing, but I'll tell you what, it gets busy in the fall. Filming every morning, every night, and in the midday, I'm either editing an episode, editing some social content, and it's tough. It's a lot to take on. I love doing it, but the podcast suffers a little bit, so bear with me throughout the fall. You will get an episode every week. I promise. It just might not be on Monday. You'll get it sometime this week, but I appreciate that, and I guess I'm going to kick it over to this interview like I said about a minute and a half ago. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and thanks for listening. All right, we're hot. And today we're in studio. We're back after the first full week of deer season. And I've got Chris, Cody, and Adam with us. What's going on, fellas?
Well, we started out good. Finally.
Started out with a bang.
Finally. Felt good.
Yeah, you went in like hot and like came out successful. First sit-in, only set so far.
I have sat a total of 35 minutes this entire season, and that is unbelievable. That never happens.
Well, that just goes to show you did your homework the right way. I mean, you did everything right and went in there and smacked the one you wanted.
Yeah, there was definitely a patience game with this one. Adam and I went down to Ohio on Thursday night, Friday morning. Friday morning, Saturday is opener.
Yep.
Cell Cam's intel was telling us that we got the send 7 and 7.
Yep.
At 7 a.m. and it's 7 o'clock at night for probably 3 weeks in a row. There was multiple shooters that were on that camera. We have a buck that we call Sneaky Junior. He's probably in the 60s. That just a beautiful deer that we were looking for. And then we had Seagram's 7 and 7, which is the 10 that ended up shooting, and a couple other just really good bucks. And it was like, you know what? I've never hunted in September before. Like, I've always been dropped somewhere.
Yep.
So to hunt September 28th in Ohio was like
It's a game changer.
completely new for me. I didn't even know what to do. It was so hot. It was so warm, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I mean, usually I'm coming in like mid-October.
Yep.
You know, it's already changed. So it was a different ball game for me. But, yeah, I think we went down there. We wanted to get a ground blind in.
That was couldn't get a stand in, right?
Yeah. The way the wind's set up, I mean, that if the property runs kind of really north and south, and with that timber edge, it was on the east side.
Yep.
So you hunt with the west wind, it's blowing down into the valley. You hunt with the north wind, you're kind of right down the edge of the corn. So Adam and I looked everywhere. We're like, it's just not feasible. We got to get in the ground, and then we ended up setting up that ground blind in the corn.
Yeah, and that freaking deer, he was like 7 o'clock in the morning, 7 at night, wasn't he? He was like so patternable.
Yeah, he was so patterned. And so we went around and we kind of snuck in midday on Friday. We left and got down there about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
And opener was Saturday, right?
Opener was Saturday. And I was looking at the wind, and I knew it was still going to be hot. It was going to be 80-some degrees. And we were like, you know what? If we put it on this west edge of corn, we could probably bury the blind. We'll get it up Friday. We'll let them get used to it. We're not going to do anything. Let's just get out of this property and let it go. And so we did. And that night, Saturday night, fast forward, now it's opening day.
Yep.
We don't go. The wind is, not right for it.
And that must have been hard.
It was, because it was like
tough.
we'd finally go, right? But we made the choice not to.
Yeah, and it was a good choice.
Yeah, it was a great choice. So then we said, all right, let's go scout. So we went and scouted that night. We have a kind of a hilltop that's way up, and we could see, and I was standing on top of the Ranger, like looking over top of the corn because the corn's still up. And finally I could kind of see, okay, they're coming out. I could see that they were getting used to it, and they were shooting out of that same spot.
Yep.
And then sure enough, we got a trail cam pictures. Like he's still coming around that area.
But he didn't come out that night?
He did not come out that night, no.
Nope, we didn't see a single buck that night.
No, it was kind of like, did we do something? Did we do some damage?
Damage it a little bit.
And it was like, man, and we were so quiet trying to get in and out of there. And we did some trimming a little bit just to knock down some stalks, but I felt like we were in and out pretty quickly.
Well, even going in, I mean, we kicked up Sneaky Jr.
We did. That I knew was like we were in trouble.
Yeah.
Because we came around the edge of the corn and we kicked up Sneaky Jr., this, 160-plus inch deer. And he was laying in the corn like 8 yards off, and we were coming around on the Ranger. He just jumped up and took off in front of us, and I think Adam and I both looked at us like, uh-oh, that's not good.
Yeah.
That's not good.
He looked much bigger in person.
Oh, cameras did not do him justice. But I did not expect, after doing that, I was kind of like, all right, he gone. Yeah. So I didn't think he was coming back. And we never really had a chance to find out if he did or didn't. But, yeah.
Well, even when we were trying to look for a place to put that blind, we were kind of thinking that we were going to put it by that tree, that standalone tree. But then we looked down further in that thicket, and there was a bunch of bucks that came out of there. We were like, well, let's kind of sneak over. Yeah. So, and that was a good choice.
Yeah, that worked out really good. And then we can kind of get away with several different winds the way it was if we moved it down a little bit.
Yep.
So we did. And the next day we chose not to hunt the mornings just because, getting in, getting out this time of year is tough.
Yep.
So we didn't hunt the morning, which is another killer. So let it sit another day, and then it switched, and it switched out of the east. The temperature the day before was a high of 89. The day that we shot, it was a high of 77 or 76. Still warm.
Yep.
But we got in there about 5:30. I think we sat down and was just sweating.
Oh, I mean, we had to go right straight through the corn.
Yeah.
And
took a totally different route in. Just came right through the corn and popped out at the wrong tree.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. I had a marker. I was like, I know it's over there. And then we started popping out, and I was like, yeah, that's the wrong tree. We got to go. Let's walk this. So we walked a corn row like all the way down. Then we popped out right behind the blind. And of course, you're walking through and all of a sudden you hear, and I'm like, oh, there goes the deer. There goes the buck. And like, now we're just wandering around this cornfield, and I'm like, this is a disaster right now.
Sweating.
It's just sweating. And we got in there, and I was so hot. I looked at Adam, and I'm just like, I can't even put my sweatshirt on. I'm like, I'm dying hot. Like, I'm literally dripping. And finally, I'm like, okay, we'll cool down. It's been about 15 minutes. I'm like, we're good. He gets set up, and we're trying to get the windows dialed. And I'm like, this is where I can shoot. He's like, okay. And then literally the very first thing he goes, He goes, buck. And I put my binos up, and they go, shooter. And he goes, sure. And that was it. So we said,
It was that quick?
Buck, shooter, sure. That was it.
Yeah.
It was that quick. It was literally, I felt like we were in there 15 minutes, and he was standing at the edge.
Wow.
And I was like, all right, well, not even going to blink. I'm like, that's
He was the
one.
first one into the field,
First
too?
deer that popped his head up in the field. Now, in the midst of all that, like we had talked about, there's going to be deer come from our right. We knew they were coming from right because we had scouted the night before and watched where they were coming in. We're like, okay, they are going to come from the right. And at the very same time, so he's up, and he's in the field probably 2 minutes. And then I look
Well, he was
over.
on the edge first.
Yeah, just
like
on the
he
edge.
would not come in. He would not commit.
Yeah.
Until
Yeah.
you were like, hey, they're coming.
To the right, there was a doe. She was breathing on the blind. She was so close. And I just kept like inching backwards so that she couldn't see us. And she was just looking at the blind. And she just walked at about 4 feet right past the blind.
That gave him this,
And
like, oh,
he
it's
saw
okay
them
in
coming.
there.
And what happened was there was 5 does that were with him with that one. And when they all came and started to commit into the, like, walking past us in front of us, then he was like, yep. And so he just – but it took him 15 minutes till he watched him. He did his thing, and then he left, and he came back for a second, looked, and then he went, okay. And he just came right out, and, boy, the rest is history. And he came to 20 yards. So
That's pretty cool.
Well, even through the process of him committing, when filming out of a blind, I mean, you know this, Aaron, it's not everything you want it
Not
to be,
the most
right?
conducive.
It's not. It's not. I mean, you're literally filming from one window, and if you have to film from another, you're moving the tripod and you're moving the camera.
Yeah.
And so the buck comes in, and I'm panicking because he's 5 steps away from where I'm not filming him anymore, right?
Yeah.
And Chris has a clear shot. I don't. So at the same time, Chris is like, don't move. He's like, he's going to come back. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I need to catch it, or I need to capture this animal, right? So I'm just about to move the camera, and Chris is like, no, he's not. He's coming back. He's coming back. And sure enough, he turns and comes right back.
Adam was panicking because he literally was like, when you know what it's like as a field producer, when the deer leaves your screen, it's like you're
Panic
panicking,
mode.
especially if I can see him. But it was one of those things where he just went out, and I could tell that he was going to round, and then he was going to, and I'm like, don't move. I'm like, he's coming, and then he did. I'm like, he should show up back in your screen right about, and then I was like, nah. And then he came right back in the screen, and luckily we never had to move anything. The windows were set up perfectly in the way he walked in. But when he came in, he came in and he started facing me. And he was looking the whole time.
Yep.
He was on edge.
Yep.
He just
So were the
making sure.
does.
And the does were still looking and just making sure, but they were comfortable, but they were just looking.
Yeah.
And the doe was doing the whole fake
Head
out,
up.
the head up, pop, pop. There she was looking. And I just said to Adam, I'm like, when all of their heads go down, I'm gonna draw.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's gonna happen. Because there's too many eyes for me to get busted at this point.
Right.
And I no longer said that, and like all of their heads went down, and I drew. And then I was like, uh-oh. All their heads are down. He's facing me. And I'm like, this could be a royal mistake, right? And I'm shooting the verdicts, and I'm like, okay. So I'm at full draw, and to me it seemed like 3 minutes. We did the countdown. It was probably 45 seconds or something.
That's still a long time.
It's a long time, but 45 seconds, and then I saw the does moving right, and I said to him, I'm like, he's going to move right. Like, it's just the way all the deer were kind of moving. And he finally put his head down and was comfortable, and he just kind of moved. And as soon as he turned broadside to the right, it was like game on.
Right.
So zipped him and away he went.
So, I mean, a big part of this was the Reconic cell cams.
Yeah.
I mean, huge part, because you guys probably might not have went down there if we wouldn't have got that intel this early, right?
100%. No, I don't think I would have. I think, we just kept getting the intel from the property that was like, and, we have a lot of the hyperfires out the video.
Yep.
And then we have, 3 cell cams.
Yep.
Like just, hey, they're in strategic spots for a reason. And it's awesome that this was a brand new spot that we put it in.
Yeah.
We actually just
we drive by this thing all the time
all
to
the
get
time.
to other stands.
And there just happened to be, again, we were down there early doing some due diligence because we had time because we weren't dropped in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And Casey kind of found this trail, and he's like, wow, I don't think I've ever seen a trail because they were just using it so early. We get there usually later in the season, and so we don't notice stuff like that.
Right.
Leaves are down. We just noticed that there was this big trail that was coming out. So he just put this, put a cell cam on it. Was like, let's just see what happens. And then sure enough, like for whatever reason, it was just one after another all the time. And it just kept, and then we started joking saying 7 and 7 and, this is the stand, but then we knew there was nowhere to put a stand. So it was like, now let's even change tactics more. And because it's early season, I think you can get away with that. Like that buck is not going to come out like that, October 20th.
Right.
And just mill around at 6 o'clock with a bunch of does. But on September 29th, he's going to do that, right? So it's like, let's just try to do it while we can.
And it definitely helped, too. Everything was green. The corn was green. And we were able to tuck that blind in and use some of the tall grasses to help blend it in. And it was perfect.
Yeah, I mean, you could just barely see the windows when
Right.
we were done, because we could just get on the front edge of the corn.
Yep.
And it was just the windows on the corn. I mean, everything else was buried up. So
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, they were still on edge even when they came out.
Yeah.
But early season, like, they're not pressured.
No.
We never pressured them.
No. That's the first time we've been on the farm, in 2 weeks.
Right.
And prior to that was the first time all summer. I mean,
Yes,
we had mineral out early.
Yep.
And we've left it. So, I mean, that was only probably the third time we were on the farm yet this year. I mean, we just don't touch that farm.
I mean, intel was huge for you. I mean, that's what basically ultimately killed them. But you guys stayed out, and made sure the wind was right. So you guys did your diligence there and was very good at what you did and just went in there and killed them. That's great.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen like that all the time.
It really doesn't, man. I'm telling you, it was crazy. It was fun because, again, it's just an early season hunt, so now I'm sitting here.
Nothing to do.
I got nothing to do. I'm tagged out.
You got Kansas
in
and
Ohio.
Iowa, though.
I do have Kansas. I got 2 giant tags burning holes in me right now. I really want to get down there. But again, I'm kind of like, okay, patience is getting to me right now. Like, I want to go tomorrow down there, but I also know, like, it's not time yet.
Right.
So, I mean, we're getting there.
Yep.
We're definitely getting there, probably next week or something, like, for sure. But, and then to be sitting there tagged out in deer camp in Ohio and, Jason's hunting and then, Mutt and Jeff come in there. Cody and Keegan come in. These two come in, and I mean, what is going on with these guys? That was such a good setup, and they just failed miserably at that.
Yeah. So Cody, I mean, you had
Yeah, you did.
You haven't killed a whitetail yet.
That is correct.
You've killed a lot of bears.
Yep.
With your bow, so you've been on this run here the last 4 or 5 years where something has went wrong. I mean, a shoelace was tied wrong, and a deer just skirts you, or something.
Every single time something happens.
Yeah,
it's
so
insane.
You went in. I mean, you came in, and I mean, what happened? Like, your first night in, you could have killed, right?
Yeah. So we set up. Keegan and I were in the tree together. We set up the first night. We got in there pretty late, so we weren't set until like 6 o'clock. We were in the timber too, so we knew we didn't have much time. It gets dark in there pretty quick, and it wasn't 15 minutes. Right behind me, so Keegan can see me like off my back, and I'm looking more down in a little valley there. Keegan's like, deer. So I'm like, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
So I'm looking around. I'm trying to look over my left shoulder. I can't really see anything. All of a sudden, I just see antlers move. So I'm like, oh, okay, it's a buck. And I'm looking, and it's just a smaller, like, scraggly little 8. So I wasn't too excited. I'm like, okay, still kind of cool, finally in the tree, finally get to see this. Well, while we're doing that, I can't really tell where Keegan's looking, and I'm looking over my left shoulder.
And we got to get this straight, too. Keegan's never filmed before.
That's true.
He's filmed, but this is the first time in a tree.
First time in a tree, first time
He
in a tree.
He does all social media, so now he's got thrown in the fire.
Yeah,
Cody.
He did a pretty good job though. It took him a little while to get set up, but we were pretty good getting in. So, anyways, I'm looking over my left shoulder, and I see this little small scraggly 8, and I can't really tell what Keegan's looking at. So when we do this whole thing, the one that I was watching kind of comes in front. And I go to turn to look over my right shoulder, and as I do that, there's a giant 9 right to my right. And I'm like, Keegan, there's 2 bucks. And this whole time, I was looking at this small 8. He was looking at the giant 9. He didn't see the small 8. I didn't see the giant 9. So we had no communication in place of saying, hey, there's 2 deer, there's a 9, there's a shooter. There was nothing until I turned, and he literally was at 10 yards right to my right. So he was like kind of behind a tree. He takes a couple steps and walks out. At this point, I'm still sitting down. I don't have my bow in hand. I have nothing even close to remotely being ready because all I saw was that 8. But I'm a lefty too, so where it came out was literally perfect. I couldn't have dreamt of a better shot, and was completely not ready for any of it.
Oh,
so,
my gosh.
Yeah, it walks away, and we kind of look at each other, and I'm like, you just didn't want to tell me that one was standing right there?
What are the odds of 2 bucks coming in, though, and, he could have said shooter. You
Yeah,
know, like,
he goes
right?
deer.
deer.
Yeah.
And then what are the odds of you seeing a different buck, and then this other one? Keegan's filming the whole time, got great dead roll.
He's filming the whole
Cody's
thing.
just, you know.
I think it's funny because Cody is a lefty, so his natural reaction, obviously, it's kind of like, I don't know if you guys do this or not, but like someone says something, I naturally instinct go to my right in a tree. Like if someone said buck's coming, I would look right. Where Cody being a lefty, I almost feel like that he looked left, and the deer literally walked right by him at 10 yards. So I get this text, and I'm like, all right. And we had talked about, like, there's a couple big deer in there. There's one good 9 that's got
a
giant
9.
G3. He's like, all right. He's like, wow, the 9 walked right by me at 10 yards.
No shot.
I did not shoot him. So I think it's hysterical that Keegan's, he says his keyword was deer.
Deer, yeah.
And then
That was
nothing.
it.
It was a mute after that.
Yep, didn't say a single word after that. I'm like, man, what the heck? But it was kind of funny, too, because right before that, we were sitting there, and where I'm looking, it's beautiful, and there's still a lot of trees, but this doe just runs at about 150 miles an hour at the bottom through, just right through. It's like, well, that's a good night. Might as well pack up. Probably 5 minutes later, another doe, 150 miles an hour, right through the bottom. So I'm like, all right, so this is how tonight's going to go. And then
Keegan,
that whole
stop
thing
moving.
happened. So it was definitely fun.
Yeah. It's interesting, that stand, we call it Sure Point.
Yep.
You guys, I think you hung it.
Yep. Lee and I did.
Lee and
Yep.
you guys hung it. But the reason why it's actually so good right now is it's on our kind of our south line or near our south line, and the food plot down to the south, and then we have the triple food plot up to the north. So it's a super big transition point between green and green right now, and that that stand is just super active early season.
Yeah, well, and it's
late
easy to
season
get
not
into,
as much, and
too.
it is very easy to get into. So
I like that about it because I feel like the deer are down below you, and they're going to come up, hit that first food plot, come by you to get to the other food plot.
Yeah,
So,
and it's worked out. And I mean, I sat in the rut. It's really good in the rut, but I think early season is like it's
better.
killer because they're just not thinking about it. They're meandering through there versus like the rut. There's a ridge down below, and they're running that ridge just like you mentioned with that
Right.
doe. I mean,
Yeah.
they're just hauling it on that ridge, and it's kind of hard to get things stopped. But right now, they're just easing through there and going from one food plot to the other, and they're walking right by the tree stand. So I mean, it's a good thing.
It was kind of interesting, too. We sat there the next night also, ended up seeing 2 shooters. So in 2 days, we had 3 shooters, and we still haven't killed
That's
anything.
your luck, though, dude.
I know.
You see shooter after shooter.
Unbelievable.
I just want to take you like my little gnome in the tree and just like, you sit here, don't move.
It's a good luck charm, but
Well, at least there wasn't like 17 nocturnals throughout the woods that looked like Christmas trees
just
lit
set
up.
my beacons.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why the does are zooming by you. They got the memo.
Yeah, they got
just
know,
keep going.
Hey, this
keep
kid's
going.
in the tree. Get out of here.
Cody's in Sure Point.
But
So,
it was interesting because the first night we had those does came out, and then as that buck walked by in the small 8, we had probably 6 or 7 other deer come in, and they all came from that south food plot and went up to our right.
Yeah.
And then the next night, every deer that came in and then went back down south. So we kinda
Do
had
they
them
pass
going.
you on the left side of the tree or the right side when they come up?
When they came up, they
Yeah.
passed me right in front of me.
Oh, they come right down in
Yep,
front.
right in front of me. So
perfect.
all of them I could have easily had a good shot at, but they were.
well,
the
if you
does.
think about it too, so that food plot up to the north and the food plot to the south, and what we're seeing, I think, on our food plot, because we do have another Reconic cell cam there, and Sneaky Jr. is back, by the way. So he showed up last night, which is awesome. But it's about a 3-day rotation. So I think we're seeing a lot of these big bucks right now about every 3rd day, and then we see them for about 2 days, pretty steady, and then they go away. So I think they're coming up about every 3rd day. They're hitting that food plot. They're staying in that area for at least 2 days, and then they start to rotate away. And that's why you're seeing some coming down after 2 days down into the what I mean, and then you're seeing some that are coming up. So yeah, it's interesting that they're definitely on a 3-day rotation.
Right.
At least they were. I mean, right now we're starting to get a little bit different, even from when I was there. Just last week.
Yeah,
I mean,
it changes
totally
quick.
different.
What that buck that came by the first night? What was he traveling through there from? Do you know? Like, was he was because he came from the top, right, down?
He came from behind me and went up.
It's like that cut road.
Yeah, so there's that road that comes down.
He came up that road behind.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so he actually came from the east and came up right past him.
He came across that road, came right in front of me.
So he was going up to the food plots.
Yep, both of those bucks went up to the food plot. Then the next night, they came out almost the exact same spot, but on the left side of me.
Okay.
And then they turned and went down into the food
And
plot.
it's thick off to the left off there, too. I mean,
It's real thick.
Yeah, back down there.
Almost every deer except for those 2 that were going Mach 20 came out from that same spot.
Yeah.
How'd that night unfold?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we didn't even touch on that yet. So that night we had a fun little thing. Keegan and I were down there. Chris had obviously killed, so he went back. So then Adam, he ended up climbing a tree too. So we had 3 people in one spot. Adam finds this rickety old climber.
Yeah, I grabbed a climber that was sitting outside for 10 years.
Every strap broke.
It goes to put it on.
I go to put it on, and the straps break. So we had to carry it. We had to carry it in, and then of course, when the hunt was over, I'm trying to go down the tree, and I don't know if you guys actually have used a climber, but there's straps for your feet, so you can
pick up the bottom,
and then point your feet down to be able to get down. Those straps broke. So
and you're up 20 feet.
And I'm up 20 feet, and Cody and Keegan are down just waiting for me, and I'm just shaking. Like I'm sweating, and it was a bad gig. So it took me quite a while to get down.
I'm standing at the base of the tree, and I can just hear like harsh mumbles, like, like, what are you doing up there?
Yeah,
like a raccoon up there just
throat.
scurrying around.
I was
so
dying
funny.
because I text Cody because I thought that I had saw on Instagram on the stories that Adam was sitting in a climber. And I text Cody and I go, did you take a second cameraman? And he writes back and he goes, yeah, Adam's in a climber. I go, well, that's one way to make sure you miss nothing. Take 2 cameramen with you.
2 cameramen.
And
I need
put
eyes
one
everywhere.
40 yards away in a tree. That way it's like, well, one of you has to have it.
So we had a sweet setup going too. Like if it would have been the night before where that 9 came by, it would have been unbelievable. But of course, standard luck, they came out on my left side and went the opposite
which
direction.
I couldn't see any of them.
Yeah, he couldn't see a single one from where he was.
It was funny because so Keegan had Cody mic'd up, and so Keegan can hear Cody. I had Keegan mic'd up, so I can hear both of them. And it was
It's a gong show.
Oh, it was. And then so from my point of view, like I'm sitting there, I'm watching them, and Cody says he does some hand signals because they can't communicate with me. I can't. They can't hear me, and so I'm getting ready and I'm filming and I'm hearing Keegan apologizing to Cody because he didn't see the second doe because Cody asked Keegan when he could get up. Right? Am I right?
Yeah. So we had a couple does where before the bucks came out, these does came in and they were just off in front of me to my left.
Yeah.
There's a tree and it had a bunch of leaves still on it. So one of the does came out and she turned and went behind a tree. So I didn't know what was back behind me still. So I'm like, am I good to get up? And he's like, yeah, go ahead. I literally got an inch off the seat and,
and that's
just going
and that's
nuts.
what I initially heard too, is just blowing, and I'm like, oh no. And so I can hear them, they take off, and then that's when Keegan's like, sorry, dude, I didn't see that other doe.
The one that was right underneath us.
And
Unbelievable.
that one buck was following those
Yeah,
does.
he was
over
following the
there.
does too. So I had put a little treat out for him too. I had some rack one in front of me, and the doe was going right there. I mean, he probably would have followed, but he didn't see the second doe.
Heavens.
That's awesome.
It was so funny. When we got in the tree too, we had like a half-hour debrief on our signals and our communication of what we were gonna do. I felt like we were in the
SEAL Team
military.
6.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, all right, here's what we're doing.
Half-hour debrief.
And,
And then everybody forgets it. He doesn't see a doe, and everybody, all the deer leave.
You just hear blowing everywhere.
Oh my god! And it was like blow but not move. So she just kept going
Yeah.
and going.
Just
and
like, just
going.
leave.
Yeah, and at that point it was dark. I was like, damn, I just might shoot you. Just
Yeah, just
to
get
stop.
out of here.
Oh, my gosh.
Man. Well, season's officially open. At the same time,
Yeah.
you go to Iowa, you
Yeah.
knock a few down, you knock a doe and a coyote down.
Yeah. It
That's
was
key.
fun. It was, other than the rain, the 2 days of rain that we had. But
Yeah.
actually, I missed a doe.
Yeah.
For one night, missed it.
Oh,
Just
no.
gave her a little tattoo there on the top.
Yeah.
31 yards. She dropped 14 inches.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, that was a big
Yeah,
drop.
she was on
she on
on
high alert?
edge. She was
Yeah.
on edge, and but the next day redeemed myself. It was great.
Yeah.
But I mean, we hit a cold front, and the deer moved like crazy, and we actually saw 4 bucks that night, all Pope and Young. One was like, Casey, there's one that came in behind us. He goes, big shooter behind us, and I said, oh crap. I'm thinking he's gonna be like,
Yeah.
God, just kidding. He's like 140 inches. inch 9 or 10. And he goes, oh, wait, nope, not a shooter, he says. I said,
Way to go. Get you up. And
you
then bring
called
right back
shooter,
down.
we're shooting it. We're shooting it.
You already
called
said it. You said
call
it.
it.
Yeah.
No, he didn't come in, so
That's so
did
funny.
kill a doe, killed a coyote, and then a lot of deer movement.
You tricked me on the coyote. I got a
Yeah.
photo of a heart cord or a lung
Yep.
esophagus or something, and
I'll tell you what.
I mean, I saw the picture and I'm like, where did he shoot that deer?
What
happened? What is
So,
that? And
this
then I'm
thing-
like, then you said something like Yodi down, and I'm like, oh, so excited! I saw so much blood.
So that thing, we're sitting there, Casey and I are talking. I look over and I'm like, oh, here it is. I said, coyote, 15 yards, it's coming through the corn. And at that moment I said, screw the camera.
Yeah.
I didn't think Casey would be, I was like, I'm just going to kill it.
Yeah.
Comes down. I pulled back and I started a little chihuahua bark. I'm like, like trying to get to stop. And Casey goes, and the thing stops. And I'm like, oh, that works.
So you bark at it.
I'm like, like, but it was like that. It wasn't even loud. It was just like,
Like, hoping he heard you.
hoping it didn't. He just kept trotting. And Casey goes, and then he just looks. And I'm like, perfect. 23 yards. Garmin didn't lie. I freaking put it there. It went in front of the back hindquarters and went through all the goodies.
Yeah.
Straight past through. The groceries were all over, I'll tell you. When I was tracking this thing, there was like 8 inches of an esophagus on the ground. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Just
That's
decimated him.
insane. Well, that was
So-
good. We had a heck of a run for the first week. Everybody
Yes.
got to get in the field.
Yep.
It was fun. So I didn't have anything where a buck walked right or left. I literally shot the first deer.
It was
15 minutes in. And it's almost like I've been doing this for a while. I don't know
Yeah.
what happened, Code.
Right.
You got to get that down, buddy.
This is like year 4, year 5?
This is you're
Where
on a drought,
I've had something happen.
Well,
a heavy drought.
I guess in your case, you always get shafted with the first timers.
Yeah,
Adam
which
and I-
Adam was.
Yeah,
Adam
Adam the
and I,
greenhorn
He
team.
started the curse.
Oh, gosh, I
Adam
did.
started the curse when he first got here years ago. It happened. That's when you stopped the deer before drawing.
I didn't know
You
what
pulled
else
a
to
Rich.
do.
You
Yeah.
pulled a
I didn't know
Rich.
what else to
You
do.
just went, "Meow," and then you were like, oh, now I should draw.
Well, it was
And he
like
took off.
that was just a jacked up story too. It was like on him, not on him, on him, not on him.
Yeah, we were
not
going
on him.
back and forth.
And
I got him,
same
don't
thing.
got
Being a lefty where I was, we had that one lane in front of me to shoot,
Yeah.
and he was in it. So I was like, either stop now or he's gone forever. So I figured stop him, and then
Then you watched him.
well, I didn't know he was on him yet.
He was coming in so hot, and then all of a sudden, like, I had to turn the camera all the way around the tree. Finally, I got on him, and Cody goes, back. It just stops and looks right at us at 20 yards.
20 yards, dead center lane.
And you
Yeah.
guys freeze like, oh crap, what do we do? What do we do?
Well, yeah, I'm sitting here as a greenhorn, just being like, gosh, should he pull back right now, or should he shoot?
And I'm thinking, dang, as a greenhorn, is he on this deer?
Yeah.
And then the deer just walked
The
off.
deer
And the
just
deer
walked
just
away.
walked
See, everybody thinks it's so easy to
Right.
get
It's
deer,
not.
film of a deer in the whitetail woods, and I'm telling you, it's not at all.
Well,
It
I
is
re-
very, very hard to get it just right. It takes lots and lots of communication, and
Well,
I mean, it's so much fun because it's stories like this that are the fun ones.
Oh, my
They
I mean,
are.
yes, taking an animal's great, but it's the stories back at
Yeah.
camp of like what happened. Because to top this entire thing off, once I got back to camp and I had killed a deer, and I looked over at Jason Brown and I said, "What was your night like?" And he said, "I thought it was pretty good." And he unzipped his jacket and he was wearing half a t-shirt. So let's just say he damn near shit himself in the woods. And to me, that was the funniest thing that happened all night long. And he forgot about it until he looked down and his hairy ass
He had a
stomach
crop top
was
on.
sticking out. And I said at that moment, this is a good deer camp because Jason almost shit himself. I got a buck on the ground. Cody is in doing the gong show dance with Keegan in the tree. And, hey, it's deer season. So
Oh, my
that
God.
picture you sent of JV just sitting there
Yeah.
with a crop top on. I could just see him just trying to cut his shirt with a Leatherman.
Well, and
one
then
of these days we're going to have him tell the story because I was in tears when he's telling the story of what was going through his mind. He said he looked at the tripod bag. He said he looked at digging a hole. He said he looked everywhere. He was sweating profusely. He said it hit him and it was bad. We've all had it and it hit him. And he said there was
Oh,
no
my
other
gosh.
choice. He buried her right in the old food plot. And he said,
Oh, he got out of the blind.
he said it had to. He said it had to happen. And he had nothing except that underarm. He had that black shirt, and it was ripped. But it was so great because he wasn't paying attention to it, and he was looking at me. He's like, man, I had a great night. And he was talking, and he was unzipping, and then I got about halfway down, and he realized it, and he tried to zip it back up. And I said, hey, was that a half T-shirt? And he goes, oh, yeah. He goes, man, I don't want to say anything. And then he just peeled it off, and I mean, Adam and I were just losing it.
The fact that he looked at the tripod bag first.
Thought that was a viable option. You know how thick that tripod bag is? It's like an SOS pack.
No, I think what he wanted to do was shit in it.
Yes, he wanted in it. He was going to go in the bag so that he didn't mess up inside the actual blind. It was a scene. You got to get at the story. We're going to do it again on another episode.
Yeah, we will.
I thought he meant for scrape. He was trying to wipe.
No, he was just trying to.
No,
he was looking for a place.
I think as he was cutting his shirt, he was looking for places to shit. Gosh dang it.
The fun times in the Whitetail Woods. Season's here, baby. Season's here. Time to go.
We're all getting ready to.
Redemption week here, though. We're heading back on Sunday. So
revenge tour.
Yeah, we're gonna have the revenge tour.
I can't wait.
Well, all of us are getting ready to leave. I leave Wednesday. You leave Sunday. JB leaves Tuesday, and you're gonna be going off here soon too.
Yeah. I'm sticking around for another week or two, and then I'm headed out.
So
it's gonna once I leave, I'm leaving.
Yep.
So now that I got one of the ground pressures off a little bit, so I'm gonna enjoy being here. I'm gonna do some waterfowl hunting here in Michigan. I'll probably do even some doe hunting here just to see what's going on. Then once I hit it, it's game on.
Perfect.
So.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming on. Just a quick little update here. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Time to rock and roll. Season's here. Good luck, everyone.
And there it is. I mean, I couldn't stop laughing, listening to these guys' story because I wasn't down there in Ohio with them, so it's the first time I got to hear the stories as well. So it's pretty cool, a little update there, and my cheeks were hurting so hard because I was just laughing so hard, but hopefully you guys got a kick out of it as well. I want to say good luck to everybody out there that hasn't filled any of their tags or even has filled their tags and going for more. So good luck the rest of the fall. Like I said, you're going to get a lot of updates, throughout the next couple weeks. Casey and I and Keegan are heading to Kansas tomorrow, Wednesday. So you will hear some updates from there as well. And Chris is going to be back in Michigan for a little while. Cody and Adam and JB are heading down to Ohio. So stay tuned for stuff from the field from us. And like I said earlier in the intro, thank you very much to all those people that have commented and left a review. Please go do it again. And I really appreciate the feedback. And it's always greatly appreciated when you share the podcast and give some good recommendations. So thank you very much. And like I said, good luck to everybody out there. Be safe. Always wear your safety harness and shoot straight.